This is Business Talk. Your business, your success. Sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed are those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given is not intended to replace that of your business advisor. Now, let's get down to talking about your business, your success. This is Business Talk.
Well, here we go, Peg.
Well, you know what? It's going to be a new year. This is wonderful.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. Well, good to see you, Pete.
Yeah, you too. And we're here to talk about how we can help folks that are business owners or managers or leaders in a business to help them grow their companies.
So what would the topic be? So if I'm going to go to our website, which is takeactionbusinesscoaching.com,
well,
what would I look under?
We've got 5 leadership lessons.
Okay, I like that.
That's what we're going to talk about.
And I like this show because what we're going to talk about is they interviewed different CEOs, and this is the Wharton School, correct?
Right.
And just some really great lessons. And as Pete and I were reviewing them, we just couldn't help but echo that this is what we as executive coaches tell our team, our presidents and our executives.
Yep.
So, okay, but before that, now, we are business coaches and we are talking. Our goal is for you to walk away with some strategies and ideas from the show today that will apply to you. So whether you're a business owner, a president, a CEO, or even a manager or an employee, this is going to apply to you. Listen, Take notes. Well, of course not if you're driving.
Yeah, please don't do that.
Remember that you can always listen to the show in its entirety on our website.
Oh, yeah. Mention the website.
TakeActionBusinessCoaching.com.
You can click on the Business Talk logo there, and it'll take you to past shows.
That's
by
perfect.
topic.
Yes, I love it. So, before that, Pete, you have some good news.
We have some good news.
Explain
we always
start
out with good news because, if you turn on the television or even the newspaper, a lot of times the headlines, either TV or newspaper, are negative. There are things that are going wrong, and we're not going to focus on that because we need to focus on some of the things that are going right. And this first one here is out of the Wall Street Journal, and they're talking about the 228,000 jobs that were created in November. Latest sign that the American economy is growing at a healthy pace. Growth in GDP, gross domestic product, hit 3% in the second and third quarters, and all signs are that we're going to have it in the fourth quarter as well. It would mark the first string of 3% growth since 3/4 of 3% growth since 2014, after which growth fell back below 2%.
Oh, interesting.
So it's been a while. Manufacturing
is
very healthy. It's helped a lot of things, and we have some manufacturing clients. The jobless rate stayed at 4.1%, which is really relatively low. New people are coming off the sidelines, so the labor participation rate is going up. And eventually,
when you say coming off the sidelines, does that mean that they were
people that are out of the labor that are capable of working are not working, and they're starting to come back?
Okay, they're starting to work
because there's opportunities to get employed.
Okay.
One of the big changes, and it mentions it in here, is the deregulatory efforts by the administration, and that they're also talking about wage gains. They have been modest so far. If you look at inflation, it's still relatively low. And wage gains are a little higher than the general inflation rate of about 2%. They're 2.5% in wage gains over the last year.
Okay.
But it mentions in here, if labor markets stay tight, it's probably going to improve. So people are going to, at some point, to see higher wages because of the difficulty of getting workers.
Well, and also there is, we went to, Pete and I, Commerce, or it's called First Merchants Bank, does a show, or not a show, a seminar, and they bring in speakers, and it's always really good. They brought in an analyst that is a journalist, and he's in Washington, D.C., and he was talking about the impact that different laws are going to have on businesses. It was a really, really good presentation. One is he was talking about minimum wage increasing, that it is coming our way in one shape or another. So that is something that as a business owner you're going to be seeing come our way, and I don't know when, but that was one of it. So when you say that it's going up, that makes sense, that it will go up.
Yep, great.
Okay.
And second piece of good news here, and we've all heard about this hydraulic fracturing thing, and it's really helped. It's helped our gas prices. Our gas prices are relatively low. Even though the world economy,
this fracking is really controversial, correct?
But in some places it is, but it has been going on for a long time, and it appears to be relatively safe. And our oil prices are stable, and the U.S. is producing a lot more oil because of improvements in how this is done. and it's actually is helping. This article says it's fracking our way to Mideast peace. That some of the Arab countries that historically had hated Israel are really looking at Israel as a protector to keep them keep Iran at bay, because they're realizing that some of their power is eroding because of oil prices eroding. And it's changing how people think about things.
Isn't that interesting, the impact of that?
Right.
Oh, that's really interesting. Okay, got it.
And the last thing, and I just want to mention this, is that, and this is good news, but there's an article here about why you should meditate. And we're proponents of this, that it can help you stay calm. You're a business owner. You got a lot of things on your plate, right?
Right.
And a lot of things that you're struggling with. And this psychologist here, this is Daniel Goleman, and he wrote a book in 1995 called Emotional Intelligence. Now, we've read several other books on emotional intelligence, but I don't think I've read that one.
Right, we have not read that one.
And he's talked about benefits of meditation. So, and why can you benefit from meditation, and who can benefit? He said he just taught it to a 5-year-old.
Well, and I'm speaking up here because I'm a big believer in meditation. I know it works. I've personally used it. I personally do use it, and I've taught my kids. Because you know what? In this life, what your job is as a parent is to give your kids tools and strategies to help them deal with what comes at them. Because you know what? We can't be with them on the playground. We can't be with them in the classroom.
Right.
What we can do is give them the tools that they can use to handle what comes at them, and meditation is one of those tools.
Or when they get into college. There's a lot of stress.
Or get into college. Oh, my, of course.
Yeah.
Or what am I saying? When you're a parent...
Oh, well,
I mean, when
that
they become
too.
a parent.
Yeah, right.
So meditation is good, and my kids were 7 at the time. Lauren, I think, was 7 and she liked it. Now she hasn't done it since, but I have to maybe and we do audio tapes.
Right. And this gentleman, it's Daniel Goleman, and he mentions that it's a basic mental fitness exercise. And even if I do it 3 times a week, I notice the difference. If I don't do it at all, it's easier to get upset. But if you do
get on
do
edge.
it keeps you calm. It keeps you calmer.
It's like calming yourself down. It's like taking a pill without taking a pill.
It's
I got to tell
disciplining
you.
your mind and trying to keep focused on one thing. And we do it with an audio program, and that's a way that works.
You can
there
get
are
apps that
other
do
ways
that.
to do it, but it helps you with avoiding depression. It helps with concentration, and it helps you to stay centered when you're at work.
So, and we coached some doctors, and I wanted to tell you that they were feeling obviously stressed, and it can be stressful during certain times with emergencies. And then for their break, they were doing meditation for their break, a 30-minute meditation break.
Great.
Like instead of going to lunch, they'd have lunch and then do this.
Right.
And they found a big difference when they got back of, okay, I'm calmed down.
Yeah, we had clients that have taken naps before, but this is refreshing. You'll be refreshed after doing that.
Yes, if you want to know more about meditation and talk, we can, if you want to, go to takeactionbusinesscoaching.com and contact us on there, or you can call us.
614-306-7922.
So, all right, Pete.
Perfect.
So this is Business Talk. It's Peg and Pete, or is it Pete and Peg?
It's Peg and
It's
Pete.
Peg and Pete.
That's just how we do it. Yeah.
That's how we do it.
Oh, yeah.
So with that said, our lesson or our show today is about the lessons learned from CEOs or strategies?
Yeah, these are 5 leadership lessons. And again, we get material from all over the place. This happens to be from the Wharton School, which is at the University of Pennsylvania. And they send out information to leaders. And we've been on this mailing list for a while. And there's some really good information that comes out. And some of these articles are very long. But this one was about 5 things. They interviewed, obviously, a bunch of people here. And Dow Chemical CEO, American Express CEO, and multiple others, Vanguard CEO. And they've distilled these things down into 5 big things. So the first one, and we'll get started here before the break, and talks about, and this is from the former CEO of Dow Chemical, CEOs must be creative and charismatic enough to develop and communicate a vision. It needs to be, and they also need to be smart and broad enough to formulate a good strategy to implement the vision. And this is the sometimes a challenging one at the end here. They need to be empathetic enough to help people implement it.
I like that.
And now there's a lot there.
There is a lot there. I mean, the I'm okay, you're okay quadrant.
Yes.
Pete and I saw the Keith Cunningham, who wrote the book Keys to the Vault. He also is the father behind Rich Man, Poor Man. He's the rich father.
Rich dad, poor dad.
I mean, rich dad, poor dad.
Yeah.
And one of the things he talked about, it's interesting when you said that about vision, is he had 4 or 5 lessons, or he said 4 or 5 tasks
Right.
that a CEO has to just really concentrate on. And the direction is really like the vision of setting that and making sure you communicate.
So when we get back, we're going to talk about this in some detail. And again, it's you're the CEO, you're in charge of your company. You need to be thinking about a great vision, where we're headed as a team, and you need to be able to formulate a strategy to get that vision done. How do you help get it done? And then you need to be a great enough leader to help your employees to implement it in a way that is good for them as individuals, it's good for you as a company, it's good for your customers. So we're going to talk about that when we get back.
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
So we're talking today about 5 lessons from some great CEOs that we can take into this new year of how to lead our companies.
Correct. And we started with the first one. What was the first one?
Yeah, and this first one again, and it sounds like a mouthful, but it makes a lot of sense, is that people, CEOs, managers, owners of companies need to be creative and charismatic enough to develop and communicate a vision, smart and broad enough to formulate a way to implement it, a good strategy, and then you need to be empathetic enough to help their employees implement the vision.
I like that. And the one thing that gets me, okay, so 2 things I see with this, Pete, is it is interesting, just so you know, when we talk about leadership and some of the characteristics of it, I like the word charismatic, because we need people to be engaged to want to follow us, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that word. The other word I like at the end is empathetic. So a lot of times, as you have grown as a leader, one of the things is that you get things done. And not everybody is wired the same way as you are.
Right.
And our ability
to go at the same pace,
to go at the same pace or the same drive.
Or to see the things that you see.
Exactly. And there's a quadrant we talk about, and it's the I'm okay, you're okay quadrant.
I like that. Right.
So I want you to picture a window pane. And I want you to picture on the top left-hand corner of that window pane.
Is it snowing outside? Or?
No, it's clear, because
it's clear.
I want you to clearly see the message. So
I'm easily distracted.
If you end up looking at that quadrant, up in the left-hand quadrant, it's our respect. It's respect for others.
Okay.
And it's I'm okay, meaning I have a high respect for me, and you're not okay, which is a low respect for you.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times that's the quadrant that CEOs can get caught up in our coaching, because they said exactly what you said.
I did a great job. I've worked my butt off. I've gotten to this point. I'm the leader, and I really learned a lot along the way. And I can do the operational stuff great, better than a lot of my employees even. Well,
and we might say, to your point, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do that too?
Right.
Well, why aren't you getting it? Why aren't you moving fast enough? Well, I don't understand. The empathy, I really like the word empathy, because I think sometimes that's what we're lacking, because where we are is where we want you to be is in that right-hand quadrant of that window pane, where we have a high respect for others and yourself, meaning I'm okay and you're okay.
Right.
Let me meet you where you are. See, a coach's job, which is you as a coach, as a CEO, your role in that pie chart one of the roles is to coach and develop your team.
Yeah, so I like what you said about meeting them where they are. So if you've got an employee that's working at 70% of their God-given talent and ability, and you know you could do it at 95%, what we really want to do is not to instantly get them to 95%, but to help them go to 80 and 85 and so on. But do it incrementally in a way that maintains or improves your relationship and helps them to grow, help them to improve steadily through supporting them. What is it that they need to learn? What do they need to brush up on? Maybe they're doing something that they don't need to do, that's stealing some of their time. And you don't really know the answer to those questions until you start spending some time with them.
Right. And then I want to just go back. I like that. Okay, so that's the empathy and the charismatic. That's a little bit about your approach. Right. Now let's get into the tactical part of, you know what? It's not only developing, it's communicating the vision. And I liked what this individual who wrote the article said. The harder he said, not everyone naturally does the vision thing. And we've seen that. they are self-motivated and they just are moving on. Yeah. But those who paint the biggest picture often find the discipline of developing a detailed strategy difficult because it requires both.
Sure. And you know what that says to me is you need to tap one or more other members of your group.
Thank you. Yes.
To maybe go off site or spend an afternoon together or spend an evening together and get out of the business and talk about, well, in 2 years, 3 years, where do we want this business to be?
And it was interesting. Pete and I recently had a vision planning meeting with a company. And although they were having, you know, what happened is it had multiple partners. And when you have multiple partners, it's more difficult to get, I think, connection and agreement.
Agreement sometimes.
Agreement.
Yeah.
So we ended up doing a 3 or 4 hour, I think we did it in 3 hours. And we really had a process where we came up with a really nice vision. Not only one that everybody agreed to, but one that could be passionate. And then the other option, which is saying here, and you got to communicate it. Mm-hmm. So you've got to create a vision, then you've got to have the strategies, and you have to communicate.
You've got to be the chief communicator. There's no doubt about that.
And that's 3 talents. They're different. One's a visionary, mm-hmm. one's tactical, and one's a communicator. And that's why getting really great CEOs is difficult, because those are 3 different talents that different people are good at. And I liked what you said, Pete. Get some people around you to help execute it.
Right.
So I like that as one. So a lesson learned from a CEO mm-hmm. was this vision.
Right. Be able to create it, and you may need some help to create it, and then to be able to implement it and communicate it to everybody, and then to figure out, well, how do I need to support my various employees and my various departments in a way that helps them grow as we implement this vision? And that's a challenging part.
Right.
You want it done, quick, right?
Right.
Quickly.
Right.
And you've got to be able to go at their pace, and by coaching them, you can help them increase their pace. And you got to recognize that some people may not be as fast as others at certain tasks ever, but they may be still darn good at it. They just aren't 95% on that one skill, right?
It's true.
And it's still okay.
Right. And this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk, and we're going through lessons learned from CEOs. And so as a CEO or a president or as a leader, what are some of the things you need to do? We just went through the first lesson of vision. Empathetic, first coming up with it, strategically creating the plan,
right?
Being charismatic to communicate it, mm-hmm. and then making sure that we have the empathy for the execution for our team.
Right. And then to be able to be plugged into the business enough to know whether or not your plan is really being implemented. How do you know that you're making progress?
That's a good point, because you think we've been in those corner offices and we ask that question. Everything's going great. Well, how do you know? Mm-hmm. How do you really know?
Right. And we just went through some year-end meetings at one of our firms that we're coaching, and found out that there are some folks that were not producing as much as they could have during the year, and they actually needed work that other people had, but they didn't know to give it to them.
Right.
So communication would have solved that problem much quicker. It's solved now,
right?
But it could have been solved a couple of months ago if people had been talking a little more.
Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting? What are you not seeing? Which is great. That's a good communication plan. Well, so Peter, are we ready to move on to the second one?
I think we do.
Okay, what is the second one? Now, tell me the resource again.
This is from the Wharton School, and this is a dean, Jeffrey Garrett, and he's talking about advice that he got from some other leaders, and some of them are the Dow Chemical CEO, the University of Pennsylvania president, the American Express CEO, the former chancellor of UCLA, Vanguard, which is a big mutual fund company, CEO William McNabb, and some others. And he got some leadership lessons. So we're going through these and talking about how you can apply some of these learnings in your own business and with your own team. I
love it. Okay, so number 2.
So another thing here, and this is related to the strategic plans, let's skip to the next one. Meetings. We're talking about the more people from more diverse perspectives, from more parts of your organization you listen to and learn from, the better decisions you will make, and the more people will help you with executing them. This is interesting.
So what I'm seeing, which you were sort of getting through that with the vision when you said, well, not everybody's good at vision and strategic planning. Why don't you get help? Well, this is good to get diverse communication, diverse opinions to allow you to, that helps increase your vision too.
Yeah. Again, I'm going to repeat this. The more people from more diverse perspectives, from more parts of your organization you listen to and learn from, the better decisions you will make, and the more people will help you with executing it. So if I've got a couple hundred employees and I'm out talking to people a percentage of my time, I'm going to learn what their challenges are in their departments or their parts of the business, and I'm going to be able to help them with those things and at least keep those challenges in mind as I'm working at a high level in the company. Where do we put our scarce resources?
Right. And are you taking the time to do that? Or a lot of times you might have a CEO that's gotten caught into the business itself, but are you taking the time and the opportunity to listen to different areas and understanding that? And then you know what? It's your ability to listen and be open so that you can make a decision. What I'm seeing, Pete, is that we're going to make a decision that's more holistic, meaning I see the whole picture, not just a part.
Right, right. And sometimes you have to let people know that, hey, I recognize that's a problem, and we're going to get to that one, but these three right here, these are the ones that we're working on this quarter.
You know, I'm so glad you brought that up, because one thing, we have a president, Pete, and you'll know who I'm talking about, that we coach, an office person that is over this large office, and they were complaining that, not complaining, but giving us feedback that the team always was saying, well, you're not listening to me. I want you to work on this, like the department managers. And
right.
I had suggested, okay, put an easel up or a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Put up there, this is our priorities for the next 90 days. When there's a great idea.
Our theme for the quarter.
It's our theme for the quarter and our priorities. You've given me something great. It doesn't mean I can do it now. I'm going to put it in the parking lot, and you're going to see it put in that parking lot.
Right.
That parking lot will be, everything in the parking lot will come into another 90 days, but we're going to stay focused on this because these are our priorities now. Right. And I want you to know you're being heard.
I haven't forgotten you. Right.
I'm going to put this in the parking lot. You're going to see it in my office. It's going to be right there. That doesn't mean, just because I'm not working on it now, doesn't mean I'm not listening.
Right.
But it's a formal way of letting them know that it's still there. Mm-hmm. So understanding that is that's a good point.
That's good.
Okay.
The thing, and I really like this, is this one leader says, hey, the goal for every leader is to make sure that every meeting matters. Every time we sit down or stand up, whatever it is, with another employee, whether it's one-on-one or it's a larger group, you make sure that we've framed a problem or framed the opportunity. We listen actively. We get thoughts together from everybody in the room and create an action plan that every leader should be focused on. If we're having a meeting, we need to make sure we have great results from that meeting. Otherwise, why are we doing it?
And that's, and what we want you to do, and this is just, here's another exercise for you to do, because we're Peg and Pete with Action Coach.
Homework alert.
Take action. Homework alert is, for every meeting that you do have, figure out the people in the room and what is their hourly rate that you would charge. So maybe they're a $100 person an hour, or 50 or 200. You insert that dollar. Right. So then add that up and then understand the value of that meeting. So if you have 10 people that each are valued at $100 billable rate, that's a $1,000 meeting.
Right.
Are you delivering the value of that?
And in this way, you might shorten some of your meetings, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's making sure that, are they valuable, and making sure everybody knows that we want to have meetings. We just want them to be valuable and have it be fruitful for everybody in the room.
Very good. Very good. So one final thought on this meeting thing is that you'll perform better as a CEO if you create an environment where there's real diversity of experience and perspective in the room, and everyone has the confidence to speak up, share their views, and learn from each other. And occasionally you may have to ask someone who's quiet in a meeting what their opinion is if they're not offering it. Ask them.
To learn more about today's topic, call 614-306-7922. Now, back to more business talk.
All right, we're talking about some lessons, 5 lessons that this individual from the Wharton School in Pennsylvania, University of Pennsylvania, got from these CEOs.
Where your son went to school, by the way.
He did, yeah. David, hello, David. Yep, David went to school in computer science. So. And this one is from the former chancellor of UCLA.
Okay, what's his lesson?
And this is Al. Thank you, Al.
Al.
When you're the CEO, you're often seen as the smartest person in the room, and others will be looking for you to show it. You have to resist that temptation. In other words, don't show it. It's the only way to bring out the fullest collective intelligence of the room. So in other words, you may know the answer to the question, but you might want to keep your mouth shut sometime.
And I'm glad to hear that, because recently we do a thing where we bring leaders together and put them in a room, and we do a confidential sharing moment. and with our clients. And a lot of times it's good as coaches. It's not our time to talk. It's really their time to talk with each other. And it's interesting to watch some of the younger leaders. They talk a lot. And the older leaders, the more wise ones, are listeners.
Talk less.
And it's interesting because I'm sitting there on the table, like sort of going, okay, I need you to talk more and you to talk less, because you don't realize how much there is to learn in this room. You're telling everybody else how smart you are.
Right.
A young leader. That's a young leader snafu.
Well, and the other thing that comes to mind with me, and I'm thinking about clients throughout this past year and in 2017 that have, I don't want to say complained, but have said, hey, I work really hard and I'm really exhausted. And boy, I wish I could get some help around here. Those folks also need to recognize that if they're quiet and they let people struggle a little bit, and they're not going to let them fall or drive the bus off the cliff, but let them struggle a little bit and come to a conclusion rather than dumping the answer on the table and saying, this is what we need to do, let's go. That's how people grow.
Right.
Let them even make a mistake now and then and realize that, hey, this is the way we need to go with this.
That is good. I like that, is looking at your people and allowing them to make a mistake and not necessarily come up with the answer. I do like that.
Yeah, this gentleman, Al Kernsdale, mentions that when you're the leader, anything you say, if you're in a meeting with a group, even if it's only thinking out loud or consciously designated to stimulate conversation, it'll be taken as gospel and given far more power than you may have intended. You can badly damage group dynamics if you put a conclusion out on the table early on. The group may just gravitate to that.
Right, because they want it to be rewarded. They want to not create waves. They're going to go. Isn't that interesting?
And you may not get the buy-in that you really want when that happens. They may go, we need to do this. But some of them may not be as engaged as they would have been had they come to that conclusion on their own.
Because your job is to inspire and engage.
Yes. And help them grow.
And to help them grow, right. And are you doing that when you come up with the answers? That is a good one. You know, what's interesting, Pete, is when you're talkative as a leader, you do want to spit out the answers because you know it and you have high energy and you have excitement and you want to share. And sometimes that's not always the way to do it. Right. So that's a good watch out. That's a good self-check for our leaders out there.
Yep.
That is.
And helping your own people to grab a hold of things and grow themselves.
Okay, so
that's one of our key jobs.
And so this is number 2 or 3?
I think it's 3.
So this is Peg and Pete with Business Talk. We're going through from the Wharton School. He went through and he interviewed these different CEOs, and each one gave a lesson. Like, hey, if I can give you any wisdom, this would be it. And the first one was, I'm going to have us just recap.
Well,
sorry, I'm just
we better flip back here, Peg.
You can flip back.
I don't know.
You can flip back.
What was it? Oh, here it is. It's Andrew Laveris, the former CEO of Dow Chemical. He said CEOs must be creative and charismatic enough to develop and communicate a vision, smart enough and broad enough to be able to formulate a good strategy to implement the vision, and then be empathetic enough to help people implement the vision.
Okay, I love that. That was number 1. What was number 2?
Number 2, this is from Ken Chenault, the CEO of American Express. Meetings are really important for CEOs. The more people from more diverse perspectives from more parts of your organization you listen to and learn from, the better decisions you'll make. And the more people will help you with executing them. Right.
Got it.
And, you know, I from extension, I'm not saying this may not be just meetings. It could be you walking around talking to people. It doesn't necessarily have to be a, quote, meeting.
Right.
Where you have groups of people, working on a task.
Okay, and then the one we just covered.
Covered it was from the former chancellor of UCLA. When you're CEO, you're often seen as the smartest person in the room, and others will be looking for you to show it. You have to resist the temptation. Don't do it. It's the only way to bring out the fullest collective intelligence of the room. And I think it's a way to develop people is sometimes you need to be quiet and we help them.
Right, and getting buy-in, right? We want to get buy-in.
Yeah, we want them to grow, and we want them to be committed. And usually if people come up with their solution, they're going to be more committed to it if they do it themselves.
And then that, to your point, that's how you're going to grow them, because you're not going to always be there for the answer. So can they come up with their own answer? Right. And it stops. One of the things you said is if the answer is out there, it stops a creative process, and we think we've come to a conclusion, but really is that the right answer? Right. Okay, that's good. Okay. What's
so
our
now
next
let's talk about this next one. So this is the CEO of Vanguard, and CEOs often tell themselves and each other to remember it's a marathon, not a sprint. They're wrong. Being CEO is a series of sprints, not a marathon. That's interesting. That makes recovery between sprints essential. In other words, they're saying you got to run, babe, but you need to take a break now and then and make sure that you are ready to go and recovered and take care of yourself. So self-care. No matter how you do it, recharging is essential not only to your personal well-being, but also to peak job performance. So in other words, you can't work yourself into a ground. You're not being a good leader if you sacrifice your personal or physical well-being. You're just not.
You know, Pete, I think this was, when I read this, I think this is my favorite. I want to take a minute to talk about it.
This is a big one.
It's because a lot of times as a business owner or CEO, your job is to make quick decisions and then make adjustments along the way. Delaying the decision, coming back on a decision, that's not good.
Or if something is really important, has to be done in a short time frame, you stay, your team stays, everybody works on it, they get it done.
Right.
And they crash, and sometimes you have a deadline that's unrealistic, but you have to meet it anyway.
Well, and
you need to do it.
I like how he says you're sprinting, and then I also, okay, so we like that, the sprinting part. Mm-hmm. I also like the taking breaks, because what we see with company owners or managers and CEOs is that you may be inclined to burn yourself out.
Yes, right.
So
right, because you're a high achiever, and
right.
you're not satisfied if you don't get a lot done, right?
Right. Yep. And you're not taking the breaks you need. Mm-hmm. And let's talk about how to take these breaks, because so now we're coming up. You know, it's a lot of people might be on break now because it's a vacation kind of time, holiday time. It's making sure you take the vacations.
Right. We do want you to take vacation every year, all the time.
You
whether
need
you're a
to
manager, business owner, employee, doesn't matter.
Because it's recharging you. And
right.
and you know, we did a show, Pete, a while back, a radio show on this, that they did a study that said that when people took breaks, they were more productive. So it's counterintuitive, I think, to you thinking that if I slow down, I'll speed up. But if you slow down, when you come back, your momentum and your energy is going to be even that much more. So it's not just about taking vacations. It's also about meditation. Meditate, like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Like giving your brain a break.
Well, and some of the other self-care things that we've talked
right.
about before, about exercising. Exercising takes time, right?
Right.
But, I mean, for me, it gives me energy.
Well, and that's why.
So in the time that I am at work, I feel better and I'm more alert.
It's going to, yes. And so what are you doing to do, like exercising, reading, learning? Are you learning?
Right.
And coaching, like when Pete and I are business coaches, executive coaches, we come in and we'll coach you. That is a break for a moment of recharge where you're not working in your business, you're working on it and you're figuring it out. Now, we even want you to take more of a break at the very least, but are you learning? Are you resting correctly?
Well, another thing that we suggest is expressing gratitude. So whether you do it in a book or you just do it privately by yourself and think about the things that you're thankful for and the things that you're grateful for in your life. And there's generally a lot of them. You just don't stop. It's stopping yourself for a moment and thinking about what are the things that I'm really appreciative of that are going well.
And I guess it's taking inventory of your business and your life in order to take a break so that you can see the big picture, because your job is to be visionary. Your job is to be inspiring. We need you to be ready physically and mentally to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. And that's why we want that self-care, whether it's to your point, whether it's a gratitude, whether it's exercise, whether it's eating right, learning, meditating, making sure that you take the break to get it all done.
So I'm going to read you a little more from this article. Recharging is a personal matter. We all do it differently. How you recover doesn't matter. That's great. That you do it is essential if you want to succeed personally and professionally in jobs with lots of expectations, lots of responsibility and pressure. Big jobs can eat you alive. You need to give them your all when you're working, but it's equally important that you recover from the latest sprint. Busy day, busy week, busy month. You've got to switch it off, recharge, recover, and then get ready for your next sprint. And you're going to go faster next time.
I like this. So what we want to do is tell you as your homework, because we're always about action, plan your breaks.
And take a look, since it's the end of the year, how well did you take your breaks this year?
Good. What were your recharges?
Could your business use some help? Call 614-306-7922 to schedule your coaching session. 614-306-7922. Now, here's more business talk.
So we're talking today about 5 lessons of leaders that was put out by the University of Pennsylvania dean. And the last one, Peg, we're going to talk about here a little bit is that as a leader or even a manager or the owner of a business, you're the CEO, you're in charge.
Right.
And we think, and this person that they interviewed too thinks that you should surround yourself occasionally with people that are different from you. If you hire everybody that's exactly the same or very close to you in terms of background, temperament, behavior profile, experience, the line of work that they were in, you may not develop a business that's as strong or will grow as well or as fast as you could if you get some diverse experience or somebody that thinks a little differently than you do.
And we've seen that happen both ways. We've seen it done well. And there was this one leader that we coached, and this was a few years ago. And we came in and we started changing up the leadership team. And as he was bringing in people that were his leaders, they were all like him. And the culture became sort of harsh because he was a harsh individual. And he started hiring people that were sort of harsh. And now when I say harsh, it means that they would get results, but sometimes they leave body bags along the side of the road. and that's not what we want.
Not literally.
Not literally. Yeah. It's just, it's figuratively that we would do this. And he was hiring people to do the same thing. And what it did is it impacted the culture. Because the more diverse you have in your approach and the different people, you're going to have a more balanced culture.
Well, if you think about your body of customers, all customers don't want the same person servicing them.
Correct.
Because some people want speed and efficiency, and some people want to be talked to.
Well, and being able to do that. So I like the topic of who is around you as a CEO, but also think of your go-to people or your
right-hand people.
Your right-hand people, not even internally, but who are your resources externally? Like, who is your coach?
Sometimes it's subcontractors. Sometimes it's coaches. But there are certain people that support you in your business that you rely on, and they're not all wired the same, hopefully.
Correct. And, I mean, if you don't have a coach, I have to ask you why. Because in this day and age, why...
You call in right now, 614-306-7922.
And you tell us, why don't you have a coach? Or, you know what, that's the opportunity of saying, you know what, I should get a coach. It's 2018, for goodness sakes. It's time to get a coach.
And we have several coaches in our firm, so we've got someone that'll match you perfectly.
Yes, we do. So, I mean, you should have a coach. You should have an accountant. You should have an attorney. I mean, these are basic kind of people to have in your world. And you should have a financial planner. And are you listening to different perspectives, and are you gaining it? And equally, here's the one thing. we have some people who are like, oh, I don't need any of that. Then I have some people that have too many. And then they get too many opinions. And then with too many opinions, they get paralyzed in the ability to make a
I'm just thinking about you and I. We tend to go very fast, and sometimes that gets us into trouble where you don't analyze situations enough to where you really understand it.
Right. And so what we want you to do is balance. Yes, balance. Balance yourself out. If you are truly a driver, then maybe it's time to have somebody to slow you down a bit. If it's not internally in your department, is okay. How are you going to balance out?
So when you're hiring, how would you look for people that are that think a little bit differently than you, that have great skill sets, that would be a great fit in the organization, but they again come from a little bit different background or are wired a little differently? How would you go approach that, Peg?
Well, one thing that we would ask you to do is we want you to map your company. So I in fact, we just did this with a manufacturer. We said, okay, write down all the employees that you have.
Okay. And
then next to it, put what their DISC behavior profile is. So a D is a driver.
Mm-hmm. Fast-paced, task-oriented person. Yep.
And I is an influencer.
So fast-paced, people-oriented person.
Right. And then there's the S,
who's a slower-paced, people-oriented person.
Steady, supportive. And then the C is the conscientious, analytical,
slow-paced, task-oriented person.
And so we actually map it on a chart. And
visual.
Yeah,
I like visual stuff.
So where are all of our team members?
Oh, yeah. And if they're all bunched up in one little corner, you might want to diversify that a little bit.
Correct. So the next hire you make, you could say, you know what, if we're all going to be down in S&C, which is a slower paced kind of organization,
Right.
which is fine, and we might be missing the energy. Do we need to hire some faster paced people? Do we need some I's and D's to
Well, and think about it this way: is we all have this thing around us called our comfort what?
zone? Are you
Comfort
saying what
zone.
to me? Okay.
Yeah, to you. And unless it's Alan, but he can't hear us.
No.
So we all have a comfort zone. If we have a bunch of S's and C's, which are slower paced folks, and we hire someone who's a higher paced person, it may make us a little bit uncomfortable. But a good thing about your comfort zone is when it gets bigger, you grow.
Right.
And usually the company grows.
Right. Right. And, and to your point, Pete, when you look at if you're a CEO and you might be inclined to hire people like you, and that's a watch out, is to, when you're mapping it, you're going to see. So we just did this with one of the companies, and we were hiring somebody new, and we said, you know what? We found somebody, they were a high D, and they were great. And we ended up going with the CS because we knew for that position in that mix, they were both great.
Yep.
At that moment, we needed the CS. Now, guess what we're going to do with this DI? We're going to hire him later.
Really? Okay,
Later.
good.
Oh,
That's
without a
good.
doubt. It's not the moment.
It's not right.
It's not
yet.
right. The mix isn't right now because we needed that profile.
Right.
But looking at who is in your universe, in your environment as a CEO to get the results you want, that's important.
Okay, so again, going back to this chart, you can take a chart and put your team members on the chart to determine where your behavior profile is for your team. And then if you are all bunched up in one area, you might want to hire in some other areas.
Right.
So that's a good thing. Now, one thing that we do when we do our hiring process, it is a group hiring process. We'd be involved. Your coach would be involved. However, we always have multiple people from the organization that will interact with this employee, including the owner, and have 3 or 4 people from the company involved in the hiring process, the direct hiring process, so that we get some diverse opinions about who is really going to fit.
Right. And if you're interested in this, Pete and I do this. So we'll come into your organization, and it could take a couple hours. And we come in and we do a mapping for you. We have the assessment, and then we train everyone. And it's a wonderful way to start 2018 with your team of who is it around me, and who is it that we need to hire, and what is it we need to do? So we would encourage you to do that.
So it gives you another element when you're in, and Peg has mentioned this before in previous segments about you should have an org chart currently, right? But you should also have one for a year or 2 or 3 years from now. And some of those spots might be blank based on your growth projections. And you need to figure out who can get into that role, those future roles, from a background standpoint. In other words, they've got the training and the education and the experience. But this other aspect of it, the behavior profile, is another aspect that, as a team, a fully functioning team, we want a diverse DISC behavior profile in our team so that we can handle all kinds of different things.
Right. That's exactly it. And we encourage doing this. It's interesting, Pete, you and I are going to Michigan again in January because we did this with the team a couple years ago, and since then they've grown tremendously.
They've grown a lot.
They've grown quite a bit. We have new team members.
25 to 30% the last 3 years.
Yes, and we're like, we need to redo it. So just even revisiting it, making sure that we understand the customer mapping so that we get the right resources around us and the support that we can work effectively as a team and as a culture. So that is our last one, right? Our fifth one.
Yes, exactly.
Our fifth one was
getting a diverse team around you and not hiring clones.
Yes.
Really, that's the thing not to do, right?
So
you want to recap these
just to
make a comment on them?
Yes, that would be.
Okay, so number one, CEOs need to be creative, and owners of businesses need to be creative and charismatic enough to develop and communicate a great vision. They also need to be smart and broad enough to formulate a good strategy, a way to implement the vision. So we've got a great vision, we've got a way to implement it. Then they need to be empathetic enough to help people implement it.
Okay, so that was our number one.
That's number one.
Okay.
That's a big one. Then, this is, and I'd include this to not just say meetings, but meetings and gathering information from their employees are really important for all CEOs. The more you know about all the perspectives, the different perspectives of your whole organization, if you listen to more of those folks and learn from different parts of the organization, the better decisions you're going to make, and the more people will help you when you're executing your decisions. So in other words, if I have a pulse on my organization because I do wander around, I do talk to people, I do go out on ride-alongs occasionally, go out with my people that are out servicing our customers, I'm going to get, when we do make a direction change in the company, I'm going to have a quicker response from my employees in implementing the new direction.
Got it.
They're going to be on board with me. The next one was, when you're the CEO, you're often looked at as the smartest person in the room, and others will be looking for you to show
I like
it.
This one.
You need to resist that temptation.
Watch out.
Watch out. It's the only way to bring out the fullest collective intelligence of the room, and I'd add, and to help develop your people the fastest.
I like
Sometimes you need to be quiet.
Mm-hmm. Check
which
yourself
can be
at the
hard
door.
for some of us, right?
Yes, exactly. Especially when we know the answer. Ooh, pick me. Ooh.
Yeah. CEOs, the next one. CEOs often tell themselves and each other that remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint. They're wrong. Being a CEO is a series of sprints, not a marathon. That means recovery between the sprints is essential. No matter how you do it, you have to recharge. It's essential to you and to peak job performance.
I like that one, making sure you get your breaks.
Yep.
And then the last one, which
then
we
the
just
last
covered.
one is about making sure that your inner circle, the folks that you depend on the most, is diverse, and that you've got some folks that don't always think the same way that you do. And you've got to go out of your comfort zone a bit to be able to hire that way, and it will make your team stronger. And
that quote is from Peg and Pete with TakeActionBusinessCoaching.com. That was our strategy.
Excellent. Now, we do have a Growth Club coming up on March 9th, a 90-day planning session. Peg, do you want to mention that?
Yes, so if you're interested in creating your plan and being a part of it, we will take the first caller at 614-306-7922, and you can get a complimentary ticket or a couple tickets for your team to attend that 90-day plan.
Awesome. See you next Saturday.
This has been Business Talk, your business, your success, sponsored by Take Action Business Coaching. The opinions expressed were those of the participants and may not be the views of the staff, advertisers, and owners of the station. Advice given was not intended to replace that of your business advisor. For more information about the topics discussed today, call 614-306-7922. 614-306-7922. Tune in next week at this time for more Business Talk, your business, your success.